I just wanted to start this presentation off with this picture. Yesterday I got back from Peru where I was visiting with my 16-year-old daughter, and as you can see, this is a completely off-the-grid village of about 12 families living at about 13,000 feet. So this is about 2 hours outside of Cusco, which is the former, I guess, Inca capital. And what I thought was really, and my daughter's working with a group called Light Up the World out of Calgary, and they're installing 20-watt solar systems here that can light up a couple of lights and a cell phone charger. But what I thought was really interesting is this old sort of manual tiller device, and this woman here has about 3 acres of corn and probably a couple acres of potatoes growing, and she, there's not a weed in sight, and she just sort of every day gets up and works these fields. And in Peru, they've developed over 3,000 varieties of potatoes that can grow at these higher altitudes. So she made this as a thank you, made this poncho and gave it to my daughter. So it was kind of a cool trip. And anyway, I just thought I would throw that out there for the agricultural component of this room. Anyway, so I want to talk about public energy. Public energy is an independent power producer that sells electricity. So we use a reciprocating gas engine, and I've been working with Siemens for almost 15 years now. I used to be in the wind business. One of my investment companies is called Lake Erie Power. We're doing the high voltage direct current 1,000 megawatt transmission line from Nanticoke going underneath Lake Erie to Erie, Pennsylvania. So a few years ago, I practically lived on the north shore of Lake Erie. I've had personally a lot of experience dealing with Siemens, and so what I'm excited to tell you about today is kind of what public energy is all about. So I think we're all familiar with the traditional sort of grid, central, large generation sites producing hundreds of megawatts of electricity, first with coal, then nuclear, and you had the formation of integrated utilities. There's a great book called The Grid by an anthropologist that talks about the history of that. It's actually a fascinating book if you're looking for something to read. But what we found with the implementation of renewables is sort of the emergence of a decentralized production system, or distributed generation, or distributed energy resources, DER, and that's sort of led to the emergence of independent power producers like we are, economies of scale, and two-way power flows, and I think the future of where we're going is transactive energy, where you can produce your own energy behind the meter, and if you have excess energy, you'll be able to sell it back into the grid. That sort of net metering capability, and I think that's coming here. It's already here for residential solar, but the term prosumer or transactive energy is I think coming. And as I said earlier, I actually think the day that you can buy electricity from Amazon is coming. And as crazy as that sounds, I really think that's part of the future. So what is public energy actually doing? So we're using the Siemens reciprocating engine, where we've worked with their design team and TNT extensively over the past year to come up with this containerized design. Now, there's nothing really earth-shattering about this design, but what we've done is, I think, improved it or enhanced it such that everything's in this 40-foot container. The reciprocating engine, the genset, the switch gear, the silencer, the air coolers. It's all in here. And what this allows us to do is to really narrow in on the costs. So, there's no civil works uncertainty here going into a customer's location and saying, well, we didn't know that was there, or we got to, the geotech, we didn't, our base has to be bigger. So we essentially eliminated or minimized certainly the impact, the cost risk. And we've also combined this with a financial side in that we're backed by a Canadian pension plan. So we have a very low cost of capital compared to other business ventures I've been involved in with private equity that want to make a 25% return. Pension plans in Canada tend to sort of be happy with a 6 or 7% return, and I think that's really powerful, and it allows us to offer that as part of our solution. So what happened earlier this year is we thought, okay, well, distributed generation is going to become a big business. I thought that way back in 2003 in the wind business when I started Ventus Energy, and within 3 years we had built I think 250 megawatts, and we sold the company to GDF Suez, a large energy company based in France. So we like to be early, and we like to sort of figure out what the future is going to be, and we do think distributed generation is the future. So we headed out with this containerized design and this competitive cost of capital, and we started talking to customers here in Ontario because Class A customers, as we all know, if you're not curtailing, you're paying 12, 13, 14 cents a kilowatt. So I was thinking when we started that we would become a peak shaving company, and we'd do that traditional, hey, let's have a contract and let's share savings and we'll mathematically figure it out. But what I found out was a couple things that kind of surprised me. First of all, there were customers that said to us, hey man, we don't curtail at all. We're a freezer company, or we're an auto parts company, and in this just-in-time universe, we can't, we got trucks coming in, out, we can't stop. Although a freezer company can curtail for a couple hours, but on the hottest day of the summer, they don't like to do that. So that was kind of interesting that there were these people paying 14 cents a kilowatt hour, and there was really no potential relief. So I thought, okay, well, our process is we look at someone's 2 years of hourly data, we look at their electricity bills, and then we punch it into our model, and then we come back and we say, okay, this is what you're paying, this is what you've paid, this is what you would pay with us, and generally speaking, we can sell electricity for 7, 8 cents, and in some cases 6 cents. And so what we're encouraging our customers is to stay connected, to effectively use the grid as a backup. So we're generating not peak power, we're generating baseload power. So we'll look at people's usage and we'll say, okay, you're a 3 megawatt peak, but you're really a 2 megawatt solid baseload, 24/7, 24/5 operation. So we'll do the analysis for that 2 megawatt base load, and the customer can then use the grid for their peak portions. So that's what we sort of started to think, well, maybe we're not a peak shaving operation, we're more a base load generation. And then we started meeting customers that could curtail, and that last year they hit all the 5 peaks, and they're paying 7 cents or whatever the number is, what the wires charge. And they're saying, you know what, we know we did well last year, but we've already missed 2 peaks this year. We know we're not going to do as well, and you know what, we don't want to curtail anymore because, I had one customer say, we curtailed 20 days to hit 5 peaks, and we missed 2 of them. So, you know what, we're not very good at it, it's kind of freaking us out. We're, 3 people are working full tilt on it, and we've got, as one guy said, every charlatan sort of software battery person in our door telling us how they can cost share with us. So we started thinking, you know what, maybe we are a base load generation company. And so, so that's kind of where we've ended up here with this solution. I think a lot of people, a lot of these customers are saying, hey, look, energy prices are going, we're almost in an 8 to 10% inflationary environment. You know, prices have doubled in the last 10 years. You know, is GA's a what, a $1.1 billion bogey every month that the, you know, that's the collection of all the nuclear refurb and all the renewable stuff. I mean, I don't see that going away. And so I think a lot of our customers, I'd probably say half of them are subsidiaries of US companies, and you know, they're the general manager saying, hey, I got to put a budget forward. You know, I would love to lock down a price. So we enter into 5-year power purchase agreements with these customers, say at 7 cents. So we'll put a small CPI inflator in that power purchase agreement. We hedge the gas price for the 5-year period, so we don't take a gas risk. As we've expanded our universe, or our relationships with gas management companies like Rob's here and Angelo's, we're finding out that we can actually hedge the price or the gas position for more than 5 years. And some customers are asking us now for a 10-year power purchase agreement. So that's kind of been another mild surprise. So again, we install units for, typically 1 to 2 megawatts. We can go up to 10 megawatts. And our process is, as I've said, we'll sit down with the customer, go through their data, their historical data, look at their bill, then we produce what we call a customer report. We'll come back within a week and we'll say, hey, this is what you've paid. This is historically based on the information you gave us. This is what you'll pay under our power purchase agreement at 7 cents or 8 cents, whatever the number is. And by the way, this is your standby charge to stay connected to the grid. And this is what this will be. And at the bottom, here's your savings. And you know, I think the first customer, we told them we could save them $250,000. Now we're meeting customers where we're saying we can save you $1 million a year for the next 5 years. So it's been kind of almost mind-blowing, really, to think about the potential here. And we have been talking to cannabis companies, and I'm a chartered accountant, I used to be an investment banker at Sprott Securities. We dealt with a lot of junior mining companies, and it's so fascinating to see almost the same thing arise. Like the self-anointed cannabis analysts on Bay Street are now talking about who is going to be the lowest cost producer. And you hear on analyst questions on their conference calls on all these new public entities, hey, what are you paying for electricity? So the parties, in the summer, you know, we started talking to some companies and they would say, it was harder to get connected. You know, everybody was still sort of celebrating their $200 million IPO or their whatever strategic deal. Everything's great, but now the dust is settling, and now people are saying, hey, what is our price for electricity? We're visiting a construction site where a new cannabis guy's building. It's got a massive site, and the local utility wants to charge him $20 million to connect, and you know, 75% of their cost is electricity, and they're kind of freaking out, right? So we come in and we say, you know what, 8 cents, after we do our analysis, 8 cents, and the board's approved it. You know, we can't get the engines fast enough from Siemens. So Paolo, if you're still here, we need your help, buddy. Anyway, so that's kind of my story here at Public Energy. I was saying we got a conference special. You're interested in meeting with us? We'll give you our heat for free. Like we're going to call that the conference special. There are CO2 applications we can engineer in and design in, and Tyler and his incredible team are quite capable to do that. So maybe I'll just wrap up here by talking about, again, some of the key benefits. 6 to 9 cents, you can ride through, you don't have to curtail, you don't have to lose production. One guy's production in Hamilton was costing him more than he was saving in the GA. He says, I don't want to curtail. I want to make this steel product. The global investment in cost anxiety, I think it's really stressful, but it's also hard to explain to your US parent that has a sister plant running in Wisconsin that's being run a lot more efficiently. So I think the same thing's going to happen in cannabis. People are it's going to be like the gold business. Who's the lowest cost producer? And these questions are already popping up. Cost sharing is really tough. That's a tough contract. How do you share costs? So you have to do it a year later, and we told you to curtail that day at 12 o'clock, but you didn't. So we should still get the savings. Like, that becomes a 100-page contract. I'm glad we don't have to do it, frankly. We have one customer that says, look, I'll buy gas, just give me a tolling agreement for the electron. So he takes the gas risk rather than us hedging it. So, we're flexible. It's a full turnkey solution. We're working with TNT and Siemens here. We're hedging the gas price, and also we've just licensed from a U.S. company who's invented, kind of shockingly, a much cheaper way to make hydrogen, and so it doesn't rely on electrolysis. It's a physical reaction rather than a chemical reaction. And one of the reasons why we chose the Siemens engine is because it can burn a little bit of hydrogen. So we're going to be working with National Research Council in Ottawa. We're just in the process of getting a grant. Hopefully we can convince Paolo to convince Siemens to donate an engine to this project where we can start immediately burning hydrogen. And then we can offer our customers, if this works in the next year or two, we can offer them a clear path to decarbonize. But in the meantime, we're totally focused on this gas business. We think it's going to be a big business here in Ontario and elsewhere. Other high-cost jurisdictions like New York, Southern New York. I think there's 14 states that have an average energy price of 14 cents. So that's where we're focused. We think transactive energy is coming, so that if you're a plant and you've sort of covered your position and there's a bit of excess power, you'll be able to sell to your neighbor down the street or to your sister plant in another town. I mean, that I really believe is going to happen. It's just a matter of time. So behind the meter, more control, more cost certainty, better budgeting, and a great way to save a lot of money with leveraging these global powerhouse opportunities. I think TNT, although they're a small company, up-and-coming company, have been around for a long time. I think you're going to hear a lot more of them in the future. And again, Tyler, thanks for letting me come here today and introduce myself. Would be more than happy to come to your location and with my team and more formally introduce ourselves and to let you know more about how we can save you some money. And don't forget the conference special. Any questions or? Yes, Alan, I think it was, yeah?
John, I'm curious, does public energy also take care of the infrastructure upgrades that are required for supporting your solution, like gas and hydro? So we take care of all of that, all the permitting. The rules have just changed in Ontario for air and noise. These units are designed to be all well below the ministry's thresholds and guidelines. So yeah, it's a full turnkey package. We do everything. Now Rob and his company are helping us on the gas side because they have the relationships and the history. So we're we're trying to put the hedge on and get the best price. So that's the analysis. So what we do is we do this customer report, we tell you what we think our price will be, and then while we're finalizing a power purchase agreement, we do this feasibility work just to make sure there's no fatal flaws, like is there enough gas? Like some places have a lot of gas and some need to do upgrades, so we need to figure out how much that's going to cost and factor that into our price. Well, thanks very much.
Actually, I have a quick question for you, John. You mentioned power purchase agreements. Where did you get the idea? I mean, were you doing power purchase agreements in wind before?
Yeah. So I was in the wind business almost 15 years ago, and so we were doing power purchase agreements with governments. We built a 99 megawatt wind farm in Prince Edward Island. We built a 99 megawatt wind farm in New Brunswick. And so, yeah, we have a lot of experience dealing with power purchase agreements. And I think it just made it easier for me to raise capital with a Canadian pension plan if we had some, longer term agreements, not just sort of 1 or 2 years. So that was really the reason it came. So remember, we're not selling equipment, we're selling electrons, and at a great price, and what we believe is a great price.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Great.